Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Final Gaze. My name is Harrison.
I'm Richard.
And I'm Toby.
And today we are going to be covering 1988's Pumpkinhead. Let's jump right into this. When did you first watch this, Toby?
I watched it last year, I think. No, it was in 2019. It was while we were a part of another podcast, the original podcast. And you berated me for one day I forgot on one of the trivia nights or something, it came out that I hadn't seen Pumpkinhead. And as someone who loves creature features, you wouldn't let it go. So finally I went home and I watched it for the first time. So about 2 years ago, I guess, 2019, different lifetime. Okay. And then again for this review.
Well, that actually still surprises me now because you know me, I have a shitty memory, so I already totally forgot that you've never seen it before. But even today, I find that so surprising considering its director and special effects. People behind this movie were pretty much responsible for basically everything you love. So
for the most part, almost.
But two major things, I think, for sure, which, of course, we'll get into. Richie, I mean, when did you first watch this?
What is there to say? I watched it, I don't know, a couple of hours. I started watching it a couple of hours ago, and we just finished it like 30 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. And this was a terrific experience watching it with Richard, only because I have a feeling, I could be wrong, and I did want to ask you before we started, but I didn't want to talk too much about it because I know we were going to talk about it for this episode. But I feel maybe you were kind of expecting a very cheap creature feature, like it wasn't going to be anything too much to really ponder about. You said while watching it that it was actually kind of deep for it being just a horror movie. Did you feel you were kind of caught off guard by all of this?
It definitely, I didn't know what to expect because I hadn't seen anything. Honestly, I'd never heard of Pumpkinhead until you started teasing it a couple weeks ago, and then last week's episode you teased it. I swore I wasn't going to look up anything. I didn't watch any trailers. When you told me the time frame, I was kind of expecting it to be very dated. And I know you mentioned, I asked well, how terrifying is this, or how scary is this? And you said, well, it's rated R for the time period, but it's not nearly as scary as what a rated R film would be today. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting to not be horrified through the whole thing, but it definitely wasn't what I was expecting, though.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you didn't look up any kind of posters or trailers. In fact, that was very, very careful to have the movie already on the first frame paused because I didn't want Richard to see what Pumpkinhead looked like. So congratulations, this is made in '88, so you've 33 years of not knowing what this creature looked like, and you get to experience him for the first time, probably at the same time the audience in 1988 experienced it. So congratulations.
And I'm told I'm a very old soul, so I was probably a very good. it was like I live like I'm in the 80s, so it works.
But okay, so obviously I'm very excited about this review because of my history with it. Pumpkinhead was a staple in my childhood. This was a movie I was equally terrified of, yet intrigued about. It would be a movie that I would rent every so often. It would just be on constant repeat when I rented it. And it's crazy because out of all the movie monsters at the time, you have your Freddy Krueger, you have your Michael Myers, you have your Jason Voorhees. Those didn't scare me at all. The one thing I legitimately feared was Pumpkinhead growing up. And that still probably goes to today. So my favorite movie monster of all time, I think, is Pumpkinhead. So that the passion and horror of this creature has carried through my entire life. And I am embarrassed to say, no, not embarrassed. I'm definitely proud. Maybe a teensy-weensy embarrassed to say that I've bought every version of this movie that was released. I had the cheap-ass DVDs when it was a double pack, the 4-pack versions with all the Pumpkinhead movies, which if we're ever going to get into the Pumpkinhead sequels, holy shit, horrible, but still a huge fan. They go all digital with Pumpkinhead in 3 and 4. So we're not really going to talk about those. But then, of course, my favorite company, Scream Factory, released a collector's edition several years ago. And just last year, during the middle of the pandemic, they re-released a steelbook version of it that was not in 4K, but it was just a 1080p Blu-ray disc, but they remastered it. They scanned in the original negative in 4K. So, I bought that shit up so quickly. So I absolutely love Pumpkinhead. It has been with me through my whole life, and I'm surprised I don't really have a Pumpkinhead poster at all, because I feel they would just be at home amongst all these posters I have right now. So, but I can't remember specifically how old I was when I maybe first watched it. It was always there for me. It was just always there. I remember the youngest memory I have is just at my favorite rental place that closed in 1993. So I would have only been 3 or 4 at the time when that closed, but I specifically remember renting Pumpkinhead from that store. So 4-year-old watching this movie, what the fuck were my parents thinking? So yet again, these are the same parents that took me to watch Event Horizon. So I love them so.
The opening credits reminded me a lot of Halloween, and I don't know if that, because you have to remember I haven't seen very many horror movies, so just very simple, with a simple background, just with the credits going. I don't know, is that just a thing from movies from that time period? For
it reminded me of Halloween 6's
credit
scene.
I'm trying to honestly remember which one it reminded me of too, because obviously Halloween 2 ends in a giant explosion. I want to say, Halloween 4 started in the hospital already, right?
No, it just had like still shots of like farmland.
Oh yeah, shink, 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 all that stuff. Yeah, no, I can't. Maybe I'm mistaken with this one, but I also specifically remember. You know what I think it was? I think it was just the orange lettering with like the glow behind it that reminded me of Halloween.
It just seemed very simple, It just seemed, the way they did it was just like,
Yeah. And so let's jump right into this. The first topic of discussion is going to be its director. When you think of Stan Winston, you gotta think, Alien, the Xenomorph. You gotta think dinosaurs. Did
Predator?
he do Terminator?
He did, yeah.
Predator.
He did Terminator,
yeah.
Predator.
All of those things, and it's
funny
they
took the legs from Predator for this,
right? And as well as another particular extraterrestrial, which of course we'll get into. But Stan Winston, Toby, I think you had a few things to say about our man Stan.
Did I? Other than I'm a huge fan. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. I am a huge fan of Stan Winston and his son now, who's running his company, Stan Winston Studios. I mean, he's a better creator than he is a director, but I think his work as an artist will be known for quite some time. Like, he's had his hand in so many different classic films now. And he's just, as an artist myself, is just kind of a personal hero. I really like him. Just reading up on his life, him as a person, he was an amazing man with all the things he accomplished. And I don't know, I there's not too many bad things I can say about Stan Winston.
Yeah,
other than his
and it's great
style.
because Richard didn't know Stan Winston was the director until quite recently.
I didn't know until I looked him up, and
I mean,
he was the only one I actually looked up for this, just because I was going to have to compete with Toby, and I'm like, oh my god, I know who Stan Winston is, but I know nothing about him other than like what movies he's been involved with, and that was it. And then I was like, oh, he's a director? Okay. I thought he was just a total animatronics like puppeteer guy. I had no clue, like Jim Henson, but like for animatronics, So
Mm-hmm. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, Stan Winston is the adult Jim Henson.
Was it only Jim Henson who did Star Wars, or wasn't Stan Winston involved with Star Wars and Star Trek as well, and E.T. too, right? Or am I just crazy?
E.T. I want to say yes, but I don't know about Star Wars.
Okay,
I don't think Stan Winston has anything to do with like ILM or.
Because I know Jim Henson did Star Wars. Yeah, I know Jim Henson did Star Wars. I feel like I've seen Stan Winston on Star Trek, but I could be wrong. Yeah, E.T. would make sense because Spielberg, because I just assumed he would have been involved with George Lucas's work, but Spielberg obviously between Jurassic Park and E.T. if he did E.T.
Yeah, that's going to be more your guys' territory. That's where I'm just going to be kind of like fade into the background and be like, Star Trek? Right.
This is his only directorial debut, right? This is his first directed movie, but it's the only one he's ever done, right?
I believe so. In fact, for the longest time, I don't know why. I think it was just because I fell into the trap of, from the guy who did the special effects of Jurassic Park comes Komodo. And for the longest time, I always thought that he directed that, but he never did. He just did the monster effects.
The puppets.
Yeah.
Komodo.
You guys were supposed to watch. You guys were supposed to review that one, and that never happened, right?
I think it was maybe for like Creature Feature last year, but then like our whole schedule was.
I think it was Jurassic June. See, I remember.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
I'm a true.
It's Jurassic June every year, so
yeah.
I'm a true fan.
Still have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I remember, honestly, in my adolescent gay years was that's a shirtless guy from Air Bud. Wow, Air Bud.
See, and I was like, lizards. Big lizards.
Big lizards. John Debney did the music. I just found that out today, too.
Mm-hmm. And he did I Know What You Did Last Summer, right?
Oh, did he? I thought that was John Ottman. Oh, wait, no, that was Urban Legends.
I think it was Debney.
Wow.
And it's a good score, too. We'll get there, I'm sure, at some point.
I'm sure we will, too. But yeah, no, Stan Winston. Stan Winston is really great. He passed away, didn't he? He's passed on.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Really sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, question. I'm not exactly sure what's the right segment to bring things up. Would this be the appropriate segment to discuss the similarities of this movie with other Stan Winston's work, or is that a later part of this discussion?
Well, in regards to the design of the Pumpkinhead, there is a section we're going to be talking about him specifically.
Okay.
So...
I'll wait for that part.
We'll save it for that.
I'll save it.
Yeah, but all right.
You mean the raptor morph?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
There were multiple sections. I was like, "Oh, Toby's little boy inside is probably just like all excited about this," because I thought it was pretty cool. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I feel like you're maybe excited for a topic coming up. I thought it was Stan Winston, but I guess it's still coming up. So let's go right on to our next topic. Let's discuss the father and the son, Lance Henriksen and this little boy that for some I don't recognize him. Richard did though.
I don't know where, and I didn't have a chance to look him up before this episode, but I swear I've seen that little kid in other films. And I can't even.
I mean, he looks like the kid in Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He does. Also, he looks similar to. I mean, I know it's not him, but he also looks similar to what is it, Christmas Story? That one that they play like 24 hours straight on like TBS or something.
Yes.
I know. And you know what? I probably so. When the movie started, obviously, like, there was that ominous beginning with, like, the mystery in 1957 or whatever, and then they, like, fast forward to present day, which would have been 1988. I got immediate, and this is my true homosexuality is going to come out right now, I got immediate Little House on the Prairie vibes. Total, like, Michael Landon, with his kid out on the prairie, emotionally, this deep story of like bonding father and son, and he's a good dad. And like, I totally was getting Little House on the Prairie vibes. and you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So.
Oh no, I'm aware of the show.
No, I watched. My mom made me. I watched. I think every season of that show.
Yeah,
so
I love that show. Yeah, but yeah, no, and maybe that's where I've seen him from. Maybe I've seen him on the Little House on the Prairie episode because it was filmed around the same time. So that's the only thing I can think of. But he did look familiar.
No, I've never seen a single episode of Little House on the Prairie, but just through pop culture osmosis, I'm aware of it at least. Now, Michael Landon, I don't know. I'm assuming that's the father. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I will say, my goodness, I've never seen Lance Henriksen as someone who was sexy, but my lord, his shirtless scene in the opening scene had me like, damn, Bishop.
That caught me off guard. I was definitely caught off guard by that. And he's far from my type in men. But
until you see his face, and then it's normal Lance Henriksen. So
yeah, I was like...
It didn't do anything for me. He looked like he smelled.
Well, he is a farmer, hardworking man, owns a business, Harley and Son Grocery. So
a generous word for a convenience store.
But here's a question. So I'm okay with child actors. I can forgive them because they're children. Was this a child that you guys liked?
No. And I don't forgive children actors for being children because there are some amazing child actors who are younger than this fucker who can like win awards. I mean, one, he had nothing to do. Like, except he had like 5 lines throughout. Except, his purpose was to die, be a MacGuffin for the story. So I didn't hate him or like him. He just was
there.
I didn't feel when he died. I didn't care when, he got his face smashed in by a bike.
He didn't annoy me. He didn't annoy me as much as other child actors have annoyed me. Talking about like Jurassic Park 3. I'm trying to think of other annoying child actors. Phantom Menace, Anakin Skywalker, Phantom Menace. Yes. But he didn't annoy me, but I do agree with Toby. He was just kind of there, like I don't think he had like this moment that he could have won an Academy Award. He was just like he was like the catalyst for the rest of the film. So it was just he didn't have much of a purpose beyond that, I don't think.
Yeah, because I think that for some reason, just based, because I don't know if you noticed this or not, Richie, but I was looking over to see some reaction, just to see how you would react to certain moments. And the scene where he gets run over, it seemed like you were expecting the dog to die, not the kid.
I was like, don't you dare kill that dog. The instant I saw that dog run out, I was like, oh my God, if they run over that little dog, that cute little adorable dog, if they run that over, and then it was like, oh, okay, good. They just hit the kid.
The dog has a more prestigious acting career than that child will ever have. That's the same dog from Gremlins.
Oh, that's
He's the
Barney?
Same dog that's Barney. And there's another movie he did. And I remember reading like trivia and stuff. And they all were like, he does his own stunts. And it's the same dog from these 3 movies.
Oh my God. That is
what a good
amazing.
Boy. One of the best actors in the movie.
Is he Benji?
I think he's a little big for Benji.
I
know Benji though.
Oh, okay. It kind of looks like Benji, doesn't it?
Talk about a heartbreaking movie. Now I'm just all sad.
Now we're sad. Fuck the kid. Fuck the kid. I didn't know that about the dog. That's fantastic. Now it's just he is the only star in this movie. Him and Lance Henriksen are the only stars in this movie.
So I will tell you that when he got run over and the one nice girl like runs over to like make sure he's okay or whatever, I was a little confused because I couldn't tell if he was already dead or if he was dying or like what was going on. And at first I thought it was a blooper because I recently was watching like top movie bloopers you'd never see, and they had this scene at the end of like Back to the Future 3 where a little kid was standing. It was the very finale of the movie, and the little kid was literally pointing at his crotch. Like, this is like during like actual dialogue between the two main characters, and he's pointing at his crotch trying to signal to his mom, who's off camera, I have to pee. So now I'm like, when I see little kid actors around that same age, I'm just like looking for them to like, okay, did you screw up? And I saw him move and stuff and like blink, and so I'm like, oh, he's not really like, you know. And apparently he wasn't actually dead, but I totally thought he was dead, and he was like trying to like,
It's not clear.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not clear, or I thought the same too when I first saw it, and even watching it this time, I knew he wasn't. I knew he had another scene at least before he died, but I was like, he looks fucking dead there. I just feel like it's not very clear, or comes across very clear.
Yeah.
And it should be noted, you know, I know that they're country folk, but even I would think that some country folk would know not to move a body where there could potentially be some spinal injury. You know, now you're just asking for deaths. If anything, Lance Henriksen accidentally killed his own son by moving him.
The city folk knew not to move him.
Yeah.
But he did not.
That's true, and I mean he's one step above like Poorsville is what I want to call it. We'll get there, but like he's just one step above the real fucking poor people in this movie, who are the poorest poor people I've ever seen on film.
In the 80s, of all
Yeah,
things, yeah.
distant relation to the family in New Mexico from The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes, every hillbilly wrong turn family.
They go visit Christmas and Thanksgiving. I will say, I think my favorite moment, and it's a very small moment when it comes to these characters, is it's after the whole ceremony's been done with the body, and you know he kind of stops after getting into an accident, and in his mind, his son comes back to life and asks him, "What'd you do?" I thought that was kind of genuinely creepy and kind of sad, and you know, kind of adds into the whole regret of the father doing what he did.
I think it was a good fake out. I will be honest. At first, I was like, "Oh, is his son like alive again?" And then, obviously, he wasn't. He was hallucinating. But it honestly faked me out for a split second.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of Lance Henriksen. I was okay with the child actor, but I guess all he had to do was die. So, and he did that beautifully. So let's move on to some very divisive characters. Of course, we're referring to, you know, a staple in every horror movie of the 80s. Just a group of city folk, teenagers. I have one question for you.
Teenagers who are in their 30s.
Oh, yeah, teenagers. But the question, why do asshole characters like Joel, and I know that it's a movie, but in real life, a character like Joel would not have these friends.
No. Right, they would have to know what a piece of shit he was way beforehand. Like maybe his girlfriend was their friend and this is the first time he was around, but I mean, he goes from douche boyfriend to hostage taker real quick in like one scene. So I don't know. I feel like they would have known that he's this kind of hothead criminal.
I feel like writing wise, and we'll get into this more also, because I would have taken the story in a slightly different direction. Sorry, Harrison, I'm already rewriting your favorite childhood film.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, no, I there were a handful of things I would have changed to make this make more sense, and I don't know if it's just because we're watching it in 2021 and it's not 1988. I don't know, but there were a few things that I would have done differently. But yeah, I think they could have had dialogue in the beginning, like, why did you have to bring your brother? Or, you know, like, he's such an ass, you know, like they could have had dialogue setting up like why he was on that trip with them. And I think it would have made a little more sense. But yeah, it is kind of weird that he'd be hanging out with them, you know, if he's already a jerk.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of dialogue. It just kind of touches briefly on the fact that it's our final girl who survives, you know, where he says, you know, he's an asshole, and that's just about it. Then there's a very blunt line of his brother saying that that's his brother, but it's mainly just through these little moments of dialogue where we find out that why are you with this fucking criminal, as Toby said. He is on probation. He was already in a wreck where another lady was hurt.
I mean, he was drinking.
And he wanted to he was drinking. He wanted to leave the poor kid to die. He was holding his friends at the place. He had a gun, right? He beat his friend over the head with the log.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not that close friends, but I mean, I feel like when it comes to these, I hate these people. Like, I don't like any of them. Even the main girl, like, was so fucking annoying. I feel like they should have all been this despicable, right? To give us, because Pumpkinhead comes back as vengeance, right? I feel like it would have been more fun if the teens were all kind of this despicable, and we would get that like fun rush of, okay, we want Pumpkinhead to come and kind of rip them to shreds, and they deserve all this stuff happening. But because they're all basically good people, they're boring, right? They just whine and cry. You have like the Christian girl.
Yeah.
She was my least favorite one out of all of them. I'm really glad she got an ironic death where she had a cross carved into her forehead. I was okay with that.
That was cool. That was funny.
I wish they hadn't killed the good-looking one. Well, at least the one I was attracted to. They killed the good-looking one first. They always kill the beautiful one first.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, yes. I thought he was super cute, too.
I would have had one shirtless scene. That was all I wanted.
I was about to say that, too. Just because he's the only one that probably didn't deserve to die, and yet he was the first to go. If anything, he was the cutest out of all of them. But nope, he was the first to get killed. He was the one that was actually kind of keeping the group together. But nope, what did he got? Carried up into a tree and slammed up against shit. Not a good way to go.
Yeah, it was kind of unclear, too, about what happened to him, really. They slashed a bit, I guess.
Yeah, raped by trees.
I was really let down by the order in which that, and maybe it's my OCD, I don't know, but I wish they would have killed them in a different order, you know? Quite honestly, I wish the douchebag would have been the very last to die. I wish the rest of them, if we didn't, so Toby, I agree with you, like either make them all assholes and they all deserving of dying and then it doesn't matter what order that they die in, or if he was going to be the only douchebag in the group, I think they should have killed absolutely every single person, including the girl that was annoying at the end. I think they should have killed all of them because they said in the dialogue that the creature kills whoever it has vengeance against and anybody who stands in its way. So if they were all around the douchebag and the creature killed every single one of them and then the douchebag was the very end, that would have, I think, been more impactful. But the fact that they killed them in all random weird orders, and then the douchebag was like the third or fourth to go, I don't know. The order really threw me.
And if, like, reading the lore of Pumpkinhead, because I'm not super well-versed in Pumpkinhead, so I did go back and read more stuff, too. He completes every mission, and if he dies before he completes the full mission, if he's brought back, he will complete that first mission before moving on to the next. So, I mean, there's obvious sequels. I'm pretty sure they're not going to go back and be like, okay, well, we woke him up, but first, he has to go find this chick real quick from a couple years ago, and then he's going to come back. Pretty sure that's not going to happen, so I would have loved it if you think that girl who's going to get away, the last girl, and she doesn't, right? And the very last kill is Pumpkinhead killing that fucker and then going back into the ground on his own, maybe, right? Leaves rooms for sequels. It keeps with the lore of what they're talking about, and it's a lot darker, I think, and a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
instead of the cliche father connection.
Yeah, I can't say that they go into that. The sequel, the Blood Wings, I'm more well versed in the sequel called Blood Wings. That's just a whole new slaughter, and it's just a whole step down from what the first established. But what's really weird is that I just found that tidbit out today as well. That it will, if it dies before it's done, it'll continue to kill what it was unable to kill during its initial run. So that was kind of weird.
Pumpkinhead loves continuity.
Yeah, and I mean, if they really, really want to do it, and I know they never won't. If they really wanted to go back and delve into some old properties, it could be a sequel starring the older lady. He's brought back. Oh, Pumpkinhead's back. Pumpkinhead in the city.
Remember that one time we ran over that kid?
And she's still alive, and so is the other guy that lived. So there could be like something with the hick child. Was it Bunt? I think that's his name is Bunt.
I loved Bunt.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he was the best actor in this movie next to Pumpkinhead himself. Like, they both emoted way more than I will even say Lance Henriksen.
Are we talking about the hillbilly kid?
Least.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because he was the one I was like, I can do without this one.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, I can do, and I guess as far as the story, I can do without 80% of these fucking characters. To me, I think the movie loses itself because it's so convoluted. It's like you got to go from here to there to here just to get some teenagers killed by a monster, which is basically what we're here to watch. A B movie about a monster killing teens. But we have this whole way back when flashback story, this whole legend and myth that we have to get into, this whole shanty town of poor people who know about this legend, really just so that we can have a bunch of hot teens get murdered by a monster. I feel like they could have cut out everyone but Lance Henriksen and even the witch, to be honest, and the teenagers. Like, I think it would have been way more streamlined if Lance Henriksen just knew from that opening scene that he could summon something to avenge him, and he just does it. Like, he just knows there's some weird blood ritual. You light a black flame candle or something. Boom, Pumpkinhead. Boom, after the teenagers. Way more monster action. I know they didn't have the budget to show Pumpkinhead very much, and that's why we have a shit ton of other random shit that I personally don't think we needed, and kind of bogged the movie down. And yeah, so I like Bunce because he's in the movie, and I kind of liked what the actor was going for, but I do think we could have lost all of the hick stuff. Even the witch. Like, the witch was cool, but did not fit with a teenage slasher thing that it turns into for the last half.
That's a perfect segue to move into our next character, the witch. Hearing what you have to say about her, okay, I can see how maybe trimming the fat with other characters could be possible. But this one, I really don't. I think she's integral, and I especially love, design-wise, when it's not creature-wise, set-wise, I absolutely love her little cabin hut thing. Even more so than the pumpkin graveyard. There was just something about her look in that house. If anything, Stan Winston hired the perfect DB, because the scenes I remember most, aside from all the Pumpkinhead encounters, is going to be this old lady, the witch. Her name is Haggis. She reminds me of the King Kong.
Like the witch woman.
Yeah,
the same thing basically. The native.
Yeah,
I forget what they were called on Skull Island, but yeah.
And I absolutely love this old lady who plays her, because she was still alive when they did the special features for this new version, and she has fully embraced the cult status she achieved with this character. You'll find her at the conventions. She'll sign some autographs, and throughout the whole movie, throughout the interview, she would just quote stuff, from the movie. What do you want, Ed Harley? I'm like, she's so cool. She's so cute. But I absolutely love her look. She is immediately downgraded in the sequel.
Is it a different lady that plays her?
I did watch a trailer for the sequel.
Huh?
Is it a different woman who plays her in the sequels?
Or yeah. It's horrible. Oh, what did you say, Toby? I didn't hear you.
I watched the trailer for the sequel, and I saw that character, and I was like, "There's no way," because I kind of want to watch it now. So I think I might, maybe later tonight or tomorrow, I might watch it. But I saw that character, and I was like, "There's no fucking way it's the same person." Yeah. It looks very much downgraded. I agree with you. I think she's great. Like, I think. Besides what I said earlier, I think she is great. I think her look is great. I love the whole cabin set. The whole mystical part is awesome. It just is like, it's one movie, and then you go to the teens, and it's a completely different movie. I would have loved if, scrap the teens maybe, these old, like the poor townsfolk people seem to know of this legend. They know of this witch. They know Pumpkinhead, obviously. Everyone does. What if it was more the witch summons Pumpkinhead to go after the town folk or something, right? Like keep it more mystical, keep it like within those characters. Is that
Toby? Watch the sequel and you'll regret everything you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Watch the sequel. Watch the sequel.
I mean, in
and you'll
the
find
trailer,
out why that doesn't work.
I mean, the trailer has just as many dumb-looking teens. It looks way more of like a teen slasher,
dumber.
like what I'm kind of wanted more from this one. Either stick with the mystical legend stuff or do your Friday the 13th random teenager kills, right? I just think it would have been cooler if the witch had more to do, maybe, and was more involved with the actual story, because she's just there to bookend stuff. She summons it and then she buries it, and that's basically it.
I should mention that K&B takes over the effects for Pumpkinhead 2. So you say you want to slash your Pumpkinhead.
I mean,
watch Pumpkinhead 2.
I mean, there's more like levels than just effects, right? It's like the story as well. A movie can have subpar to shitty effects, but if the story is really good and if the acting is really good, that can make up for a lot. So the next one might be a dumb teen slasher, but if it's done well, right, it could have been a different story.
Yeah, K&B, I love K&B, but this isn't their strongest work. But you can definitely tell that a lot of it had to do with budget restraints, perhaps a director who wasn't well versed in effects or even monster effects, because I don't even know. That's a whole episode on itself. But major downgrade effects wise. I just remember specifically, spoiler alerts, not that you care for this entry, but the witch's house burns down.
I read it. I read the synopsis.
Pretty much all they do set wise is that they put like just pieces of unburnt wood on the floor, on the ground of some place, and there it is. That's the burnt down house. So yeah, that's definitely a so bad it's good movie, and I'm interested to see what you thought about it, because it's not a good movie at all, but it's Pumpkinhead, and I love Pumpkinhead, and that's the only reason why I like it.
I'm thinking like sort of a Silent Hill scenario where it's like she is spurned or something, and Pumpkinhead is almost like Pyramid Head coming to punish the town, right? It doesn't have to be about sexy teens getting killed off. It could just be this more mythical, magical, dark fairy tale kind of thing, and maybe have the witch more front and center, as in just like kind of a side character. So it's like either have her or not have her.
Yeah, I think even if you kept the story the same and the teens killed the boy and the father, I don't think you needed the inbreds to guide the father to where the witch was. Like, why couldn't he just know? To your point, I think why couldn't he just know like where the witch was, and couldn't he have just driven there for vengeance and then realized what he did and then regretted immediately after he got her involved, like I think you could have cut that out and then given her more time,
and if they absolutely have to be in there, maybe make them family.
Yeah,
probably
I could see that.
Could have saved it.
Like his uncle or his brother or something along those lines.
Definitely brother. Yeah,
it feels like Bunt, right? Is his name Bunt? Is more there to just tell everyone what's happening. Like, he knows it's Pumpkinhead, he knows the legend, he knows where the witch is, he knows you have to do something crazy. Like, really, it feels like they're there to tell us, like, explain to us what is happening. But I feel like a smarter audience would just know, right? If Lance Henriksen already knew he could just do some kind of witchy thing on his own and summon it, from the very first scene that we see, that flashback, we'll know what he's doing. Like, we don't really need all these details of there's a witch and if you do this and you do that kind of stuff.
The other thing I think that's really that I found annoying by the time we hit the church is that I almost feel like that was literally just their ability to add more spooky scenes, more spooky scenery into the film, because I was sitting there, I was really annoyed because I feel like we have literally recapped what's happening like 3 or 4 times by now, and then they're literally telling the inbred child, well, you see, we killed a little boy on a motorcycle, and and then they like told the whole movie that we just got done watching, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, are we seriously going to recap the movie again? Like, we've recapped it like 3 or 4 times. We know what's going on. Like, this scene serves no purpose. I would have rather them not gone to the hillbilly's house. I wish they could have just ran and stumbled upon the church while they were running through the forest from the creature, and you could have had that entire scene be like a whole battle thing, the creature attacking them in the condemned church, without the, because that hillbilly boy served no purpose at all.
Yeah, I think maybe you as an audience member does know, however the characters don't, so the characters therefore need to be told about this thing. I can understand the repetitiveness.
As an audience member who wants to be entertained and see a monster either be mythical and do something, it's this whole Christianity kind of good versus evil devil stuff. Do more stuff like that, more epic things, or just fucking kill these kids. But they do so much of this. We got to go to here, to go to there. We have to explain this and that. And I know that they didn't have the budget again to do a big monster movie, but they still try to do way too much with the budget that they had. Like, they still try to do so much that I feel like they could have saved money on just by not going to the church, or make the church the end of the show, right? Because they go to the church, to the barn, and the finale's there, but I feel like you could have cut. There's a whole portion you could have just cut. Either do the barn or end it at the church. Like, the church set looks cool. Like, it's very atmospheric when Pumpkinhead comes through. Like, that's cool. Why not set the whole finale there in this, like, godlike...
Not like some barn.
Yeah, like, and not even the barn, like the parking lot in front of the barn kind of a thing. So...
Well, and even, like, the whole low budget, you can't do a lot of creature effects. We've said it a handful of times on this show, or on this podcast, that sometimes it's almost more frightening what you don't see. And I feel like you could have had a much spookier, telling of the story if you didn't see the creature that much, and you only saw it the few times that we actually saw it in the film, but had it chasing them through the forest, or had it, hunting them down,
sound
like
effects
Park.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as the recapping goes, I mean, it would be like watching, and I'm going to use Jurassic Park because I feel like we're going to get to the similarities in the creatures here pretty soon. But no, it would be like Jurassic Park. We get all the way to the part where the velociraptors are chasing after the kids and chasing after Ellie at the power station, and her like looking at Grant going, so this is what happened. The power went out, and Ned did this thing, and, it would be like her stopping the film and telling Grant everything that happened up to that point. And you could imagine the audience's reaction if they had done that in Jurassic Park. So that's kind of how I was feeling. So that's, I guess, Harrison, that's where I say, like, I almost would have written out the boy so they wouldn't have to tell the story again. It would have just been them being chased, and leaving it at that. But yeah, it's still a creepy scene though.
Yeah, but then you'd lose like my second favorite character, which would have been Bunt.
I like Bunt, the actor. Like, I think he does great because he's there, but I mean, he doesn't need to be there really.
He's a Steve Trevor.
Right? We're done with that, Richard. Stop trying to trudge up some stuff.
We're done.
I'm just saying he's Steve Trevor. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I think pretty much we're already verging on the next topic, so let's jump right into it. The next topic is, of course, the creature itself, Pumpkinhead.
Yep.
That's where you guys...
That's
where you jump in.
All right. I love it. Like, I love a good old-fashioned classic monster design, and that's exactly what Pumpkinhead is. Now... knowing who the creator of Pumpkinhead is, did he rip off Aliens? Faux show. Like, this... Pumpkinhead is supposed to be, first off, terrible name, right? Because, like, if you're going to name something Pumpkinhead, and I know in the behind the scenes they even mentioned this, like, they purposely didn't go with the pumpkin head, like, on a body. They wanted to do something different, but what they came up with was something that fits more with species, aliens, or Jurassic Park, right? It's basically a velociraptor with an alien's head and a predator's face or something and legs. It doesn't fit with their whole Christianity. It's a demon from hell, it destroys a cross. It doesn't like a church. It didn't fit like that. It felt like more like he should have come from an asteroid and hit the ground, like he came from space or something. The design, if you were going to go for he's a demon of vengeance, maybe something more demonic looking. Might sound cliche, but at the same time, it just, when I was watching it, I'm like, damn, I wish he had came down from space, or I wish he was something other than a simple demon from hell. It didn't.
What came? Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, what came first? Was Aliens first, or Alien first, and then this, and then Jurassic Park?
Both of them were. Yeah, Aliens and Alien were first, and then Jurassic Park was like immediately after, because I think they started work with the puppets in like 1991 to start filming in 92 to be released in 93. So, I mean, that must have already started being conversations when this movie was probably finished, because it came out in 88 and Jurassic Park, the novel, came out in 89. And when it was sold as a novel, Steven Spielberg already had the rights to make the movie. So I feel like he already had that in mind. At least had rumors of what he would be doing next.
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of similarities to other creatures he's made, specifically Alien, of course. Kind of got the same long, slender body, the elongated foot, elongated head. However, I always kind of thought, oh yeah, and the spines. A lot of its, I think its hip bones extend outward. It's kind of could be an addition to
the tail has a barb
things in the back.
Yeah,
and I always kind of thought, the head is definitely elongated, but I always kind of thought that it looked like the back of Davy Jones's head. It's kind of like the breathing thing.
Add fucking tentacles, like that would have been cool too. Make it kind of Lovecraftian if you're gonna go that route, with a alien looking type thing.
And while we were watching, Richard, were you mentioning that its toe reminded you of the raptor toe?
So, okay, this is a scene, and ironically, we're going to discuss again the worst Jurassic Park film ever. I don't know why that
okay, oh my God, I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say, because I immediately thought of you, Toby, and I looked at Harrison, and I was like, this is like Jurassic Park. So the scene when the guy with the mustache falls out of the tree or something, and then the raptors use him as bait. Yeah. Raptors use him as bait, and he's crawling on the ground, and the raptor foot comes on his back and then pokes its nail into his back to try to get them to come down and save him. I was like, oh my gosh, that scene, that was the exact scene. Yeah.
They do that, yeah.
That was Joe Johnston's homage to Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I feel like they stole a lot. Well, and again, Jurassic Park came after, but I feel like they used a lot of the same gimmicks, because
they perfected
the boy in the closet. Yeah. It was the same formula, but they were like, "Ooh, we can make this look better,"
Yes.
Because the creature in the closet with the little boy in the closet, that was totally Lex and Tim in.
And it's
kitchen.
A great scene. I loved that scene in this movie. It did have that feeling of the raptors in the kitchen. I mean, he's basically an evil raptor, right? He has the same. He even scowls like a raptor, snarls, and his eyes does that I see
he's
you
about
kind
as
of
smart
thing.
as one too.
Oh, he's a genius. Mm-hmm. I love that he's legit evil. He does snicker. Yeah, I do like that about him, and that separates him enough, I think, from the raptors, because if he didn't have at least that personality, he's basically just a big raptor.
The dog stole the show, though. When the dog peeked out of the box and then closed the lid, that was the cutest part.
So cute. I was so happy that the dog didn't get killed in that moment.
That was
Tim.
Tim.
Yeah.
I just, what really should have been an unintentional kind of funny moment, at least always went back to my funny moment, was when the lady has her head on the window and he's just like,
I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. Did you guys know that this was based on a poem?
Mm-hmm.
I saw
I read it, yeah.
In the opening credits, yeah.
It's mainly just the rhyme that those kids make. So maybe that's why they had to lock in with Pumpkinhead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with the name. But I am actually really glad that it wasn't an actual Pumpkinhead. So
I mean,
I was.
I am too, but then you have Sam, right, who almost looks like Pumpkinhead, but he's literally a Pumpkinhead from Trick or Treat. I don't know if Richard you've seen Trick or Treat, but Sam, when you find, spoiler alert, when his mask comes off, he looks like fucking Pumpkinhead, and he's legit a pumpkin, on a body. It worked there for me. I mean, yeah, he's buried in a pumpkin patch, I guess, but there's so little given to you about that it really is inconsequential that he, okay, he's from a pumpkin patch, so Pumpkinhead. Sure.
I feel like an artist or someone like whoever would have created the design of that character could have come up with a demon that had a head that resembled a pumpkin without it like being a pumpkin. I mean, I'll be honest. Okay, so I haven't seen any of the Alien franchise. I haven't seen hardly any of the Predator franchise. I've seen clips. And the fact that in the very opening scene in the 1957 or whatever, when the little boy looks out the window and sees the creature in the distance holding the guy up, I immediately thought of Alien. And then when they showed the face, I immediately was like, oh, that looks like Predator's face. And then obviously the walking, I was like, okay, that's Jurassic Park, that's a velociraptor or whatever. And then the drooling, that was the other thing that was very Alien,
very xenomorph,
Predator. Yeah. And so, I mean, it honestly, to me, it felt like they went into the design shop and they were like, yeah, let's just stick legs on from this movie and let's stick the head on from this movie, and I feel like they kind of like just to me it didn't feel like an original design, and it's not fair for me to really say that because it was in the middle of films that later were filmed and then after others, but it honestly feels like they just like took little pieces of all these different movies and like molded it together into whatever this creature was. It didn't feel original.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I'm not really scared of Alien, and you're not really supposed to be scared of Predator either because that's more of an action movie. But like, I'm terrified of this because that just seems like an amalgam of both of those characters in one. It's like if there was literal, because you always hear the stories about the xenomorph being designed and how would you say, put together through just mechanical parts, right? What do they call it? Biomechanical look? Yeah. So I feel like this could be Pumpkinhead is like the distant organic version of the actual, not a mechanical look, but more of like a flesh and blood kind of a look.
It's like Powerpuff Girls, where it's like a little bit of spice, a little bit of sugar. Some an alien, some a raptor, a little bit of predator, and boop, you got Pumpkinhead.
You got what we got? We got raptors, we got aliens, we got predator, and for some reason the back of Davy Jones's head.
Magic.
Pumpkinhead. And I was terrified of it.
What I think would have made it better, because it is very derivative of other designs that we've seen. Jurassic Park came a couple of years later, but there was already several aliens, and Predator. And what I like about Pumpkinhead is he has a personality. Like, he laughs, he snickers, he seems sentient, but not enough. Like, he has some moments where, like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's not just a monster rampaging, right? But I think if he had more of that, if he had more snickering, maybe more Freddy Krueger-ish lines or something that made him stand out from just being a monster.
And I think you could have had that had it just followed the teens being hunted down in the forest,
Yes.
No, I gotta say, even though I'm a huge fan of this movie, I am a huge fan of this movie. So,
are you crying, Harrison?
No, I just wholly disagree because
wipe your tears.
Am totally.
There you go.
No, I'm glad that he is the way he is. The only thing you really need to know about is that the thing is on a mission and it won't stop until it's killed or you're dead. And that, for me, is terrifying enough. And he is clever enough to use people as bait. And it loves just being cruel. It loves torturing its victims. Good example is, he steals that Joel's girlfriend. but leaves him alive, knowing that her being taken is going to cause mental anguish. Like, yeah, you're next. You know, that's how. If he spoke, if he said shit like, hey, you're next, then it would be like, okay.
But
it's silly.
The first time I watched this, I didn't get any of that. Like, I didn't get he was purposely torturing these people. I was just seeing silly 80s kills. Like, the way he killed everyone is no different than Jason would kill someone. He also would steal people, kind of psychological torture some people in the same way. I feel like if that was just more evident, he's like a legit evil agent sent from hell, right? He has a bit more of a personality. He's not just a monster. Like, he's calculating, he's thinking these things through. Watching it this time, I did get a bit more of like, okay, like, he's fucking with these people. He is prolonging things where he shouldn't. I don't know. I feel like there's a line, though, that they could have pushed it a bit more to make it just a little bit more different than him just looking like a raptor walking through a church. At one point. I mean, he breaks a cross, but I was like, at first I was like, is he just breaking a beam because it's in his way? I didn't realize at first it was a cross, and he was like, doing a Damien where he hates, God and church and stuff.
Can I just say a positive, though? Because I feel like I owe Harrison a positive. So there was a scene, there was that part when, I think it was Tracy or something, she's like trying to get a knife in the kitchen, and you saw the creature walk across the window, and I looked at Harrison. I was like, okay, that was pretty good.
That was good. Like that was good.
Yeah. So in spite of like what I would have done differently with the creature design, what I will tell you is I was impressed, considering this was the 80s, and I mean, Jurassic Park was such a huge, like, wow, I can't believe they were able to accomplish that, So considering this was, a handful of years prior, I was impressed when you actually did see the creature, and, putting aside, the design, I think it was done really well. And honestly, like, I was impressed, considering I was like, wow, this is 1988. It looks real, it looked pretty good.
Yeah. Just adding more to just his cruelty. I think we referenced it earlier in the episode, but he takes the most visible Christian ever and carves a cross into her forehead. I thought that was awesome. So I'm glad, I'm okay with how he is in every sense, and I will defend that until the day I die.
So some positives. I love her death. I thought that was great, and what I wanted more of was more of the sadistic, intelligent kills. But I think my favorite one, which shows more of that, is when he takes the douchebag's girlfriend, I forget her name, and like carries her to the top of a tree, and is like, you see a quick shot of him crouched on a branch, and he's holding her. That gave me chills. Like, that is a cool. Iconic image, and I loved, that to me was like he purposely was dangling her in front of them, and just like he didn't have to slash her, rip her open, he just let her go, and that was enough to, like, he fucked her up, but also pretty psychological. He let everyone know that he, this is what his plan was. That was a great scene and a cool visual. 2 seconds long, like, you barely see him, but that was enough. And kind of going to what Richard was saying, if you were just seeing him in the shadows, quick shots of violence would have been a little bit more effective than I think seeing him full body as much as we do.
I think it would have been really kind of maybe stupid, but it'd be hilarious if if Joel was like, let her go, and he does like this and then drops her.
Love it. Yeah, more of that.
Would have been, yeah.
More of the dark humor maybe too.
Unless he talks and like, oh, poor choice of words.
And I guess talking is the wrong word. More just his snickering personality. Like, you could tell when he did something evil and he loved it. He would snicker. He did the raptor snarl and things like that. I guess more of that. And for the most of the movie, he seems just more like an animal on a rampage.
I guess in some essence that could be terrifying too. He's just scary looking.
He looks cool. No, terrifying. He looks cool. I do like the design of Pumpkinhead.
Because I mean, I don't know. This is just maybe the personal stuff coming into this, but I remember, I would go on walks with my family down by the river on my reservation, and sometimes we'd walk pretty late and suddenly it'd be dark. We have to walk back through all the creepy shit we walked through to get back to our vehicle. And we're talking like forests that look like this, not exactly like a traditional, pinewood forest or a payson forest, but shit with trees that overhang like that. And like, motherfucker, I'm out of here. If that fucker shows up, you look at the shadows, say, Pumpkinhead better fucking not be here, So this has haunted me for, my whole life. So I think I'm a little bit more biased because I have that kind of personal connection to it.
But... Yeah, and it showed because there was a weird noise and Harrison jumped up in the middle of the movie and like started searching around the house. There was like terror in his face.
Hey, we all have those movies. I mean, Komodo, right? Komodo freaked me out, but I'm sure, if Richard were to watch Komodo tonight, we would have the exact same conversation that we're having now with Pumpkinhead.
Arachnophobia scared the living daylights out of me. So,
and if you already know how that goes between Toby and I,
that's a scary movie.
Yeah, I would just I think it'd be interesting to gauge Rich's response to a movie like Event Horizon, which of course I think scarred me for life more so than Pumpkinhead.
Would be willing to review with a new person. I think it's different when if it was just us two redoing an old movie that we've already done, but with a third point of view, especially someone who's not as well versed in certain horror movies, that could be interesting.
Or commentary.
We should commentary.
If you don't want to bore your audience, I suggested that to Harrison. I'm like, if we ever want to do one again, we could just do a commentary because I feel bad boring.
I'd be down for that too
because I'm new.
And who knows? I don't know. It's probably not confirmed or anything, but in April, or I think it is April, the long-awaited remaster from Shout Factory is coming out, so that could be a potential thing. I certainly don't mind talking.
There's
about
a TV show coming out. That's also another comparison we could do. We did the movie and then a comparison with the TV show. Pumpkinhead, I saw, is having a reboot being worked on, so definitely want to cover that.
Beautiful. I'd rather cover that than the other movies because the other movies fucking suck.
I still gotta. I at least have to watch that second one.
Watch the second one, if not just for KMB. So, but all right. Let's get into our final thoughts. Richie, what did you think?
Honestly, I actually really liked it. As much as we talked about how we would change it, I really enjoyed it. I was caught off guard in the beginning by how serious and I don't know, I thought it was dramatic in the beginning. Not in a drama soap opera way, but I mean I was like, wow, this is like wholesome type family father son moment. I really liked it. It obviously, has that 80s, it didn't scare the daylights out of me. But I was impressed with it. It gives me the same feeling that I get when I watch the first Jurassic Park these days is wow, that was pretty cool how they were able to do that back then with little computer, not much computer technology. And that was pretty neat that all of it was animatronics and puppeteering and that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Toby, what did you think?
The first time I saw it, did not like it, but I think it was that, we have this situation where sometimes Harrison might, jerk off certain movies a lot more than he might jerk off another kind of movie, So
I do not do that anymore.
So when I first saw it, I was like, I felt let down. I was like, man, I realized why I had never gone to watch it. And so when I watched it this time, I really wanted to pay attention, see if I had missed something and didn't have the same expectations. On one end, I did get more out of it this time, and I did like it a hell of a lot more, but the things I had a problem with the first time were still there. And so I think it's one of those movies, if I had seen it sooner, and if I hadn't seen so many movies that have already done it before and did it, in my opinion, a bit better, then my opinion of this movie might be a bit higher. So I do like the movie, but it's for me a very average B movie, and not one I would go revisit again unless we did a commentary. I will say it's intrigued me enough to want to watch the sequels. But this movie itself,
just the second
one, maybe just the second one.
Just promise me the second one.
But I like it. I don't love it. it's nothing for me to write home about.
Yeah. And I guess I should say that, I mean, do with your time as you will, but Pumpkinhead 3 and 4 are on YouTube for free.
I mean, I'm a completionist, so if I get through 2, I'll probably finish the rest of them. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Sci-fi is...
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. There's like one that's like a Hatfield and McCoy situation, so do with that as you will. So yeah, Pumpkinhead haunted me throughout my childhood. Huge fan of it as an adult. And it makes me want to go buy a poster for this movie just so I have it on my wall. The VHS cover haunted me, walking down the horror section. I'd look at that. Ooh, that's spooky, but I want it, and I always rented it. I feel like I'm a bit more biased towards loving it. I will say that, of course, it does have its faults, as many horror movies in the 80s had. So, no, much like From Dusk Till Dawn, I know it's not a perfect movie, but the creature design itself has me sold on it. And it's funny because opposite from you, Toby, this is a movie I will definitely revisit. I have revisited. I pretty much watched it, last October when it came out to buy for this new remastered, and I watched it again tonight willingly because I love this movie so much. I don't know. I also I can overlook a lot of the things you guys mentioned. Design wise, for me, this was always Pumpkinhead, even at a time when the Alien movies were out. I think he has unique features enough where obviously if you just look at the silhouette of Pumpkinhead versus the Xenomorph, you could be like, oh well, that's Pumpkinhead, that's the Xenomorph. So, but that's just me.
So what's the rating?
Yeah, what do we do here?
How many bunts?
I don't want it to be simple.
I just feel like the name bunt is so funny.
How many bunts? I know, it just sounds like it's like that's what would happen to him. Like he's such a kind of a character. You'd be like, fuck off, I'm gonna bunt you away. Bunt.
Yes, you got bunted.
Yeah, we'll do that. It's a weird word. So Richie, out of 5 bunts, how many bunts do you give Pumpkinhead?
As Toby so eloquently put it, I liked it, I didn't love it, and I personally don't like it enough that I have any interest seeing any others. But considering the history, considering this was Stan Winston's film, considering the connection with all the other films we mentioned on this episode, I would give it 3.5 bunts.
Perfect. Toby?
I'm gonna give it 2.5 bunts. And that 2 bunts is purely Stan Winston and the effects, because of course Pumpkinhead, the titular character, is the best part. Every time he's on screen is the most exciting. He looks great. They make great use of that one smoke machine that they had and a bunch of dry ice. So every time he's on screen, it looks great, right? But everything else for me completely falls apart. So the 5 is bunts, the character bunts performance maybe, but. Yeah.
Bunt gets 5 bunts.
Bunt gets 5 bunts. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 4 bunts out of 5. I guess they're more for personal reasons because this again, I'm not. And
that's totally fair and valid.
Yeah. I don't know. I just at least a 3 I expected from you, Toby, but that'll be fine. I was like, this movie's 90 minutes long. Tears in my eyes. But yeah, no, I give this 4 out of 5 bunts, kind of similar to From Dusk Till Dawn, way back when in the yesteryear. Very atmospheric, very memorable. This at least ignited many nightmares, and who knows what I'll be dreaming.
It's
tonight,
a cult classic. So. I can't argue that. Read anywhere about Pumpkinhead, and it is considered a complete cult classic. So, whatever our opinions are, there was a large group of people who love this movie and is an inspiration to them. So.
All right, well, I think that just about wraps it up for our talk about Pumpkinhead. Join us next week for our very special Valentine's episode, where we'll be covering Valentine.
My anniversary. Sounds cheesy, but that is actually my anniversary.
Beautiful.
Hey, our wedding anniversary is on New Year's Eve, so I get it. You got to pick a date you can remember, right?
Too far.
Well...
I'm just kidding.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
And I'm just forever alone. I got.
You have us, Harrison. You're in a three-way.
Oh, see. Oh, but Richie's in the middle. I like being in the middle. Let's move this
Some would say
video
a
over this
throuple.
way to the left. A throuple. Consider me very intrigued. So, well, that'll be for our OnlyFans, and with whatever Toby said while we were away. Until then, you can find us on all the social medias. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. I think we're getting a lot of success with these fan posters, so can't wait for you to show.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make one for Pumpkinhead, perhaps.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be
I was
great.
thinking about it, and I had never thought about it before, but I feel like it's kind of right up my alley. I love drawing monsters.
I think that'd be
I feel
great.
nervous though, because you're such a fan, and I feel like I don't want to draw something that doesn't live up to that. So I have some reservations, but I think I might try.
Oh, you know exactly what he looks like. Just give it that Toby touch.
I'll do one. It'll be stick figures, and then that way, no matter what you give him, it'll be a million times better.
And his head will literally be a pumpkin
Head
Pumpkinhead.
with eyeballs.
with eyeballs. So yeah, you go follow us on all the social medias. We can also listen to us on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts and Podbean and YouTube. We still do videos, so go check us out there. We're gonna try to figure out a workaround with this video thing we're going through. I don't know why
We
I'm
might
telling you
just
this.
need to get a subscription as a podcast, I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
I know, but
Yeah, Richie did suggest at one point that I would have to suggest at some point we just kind of shoot video of ourselves on our cell phones and you just send me the files. However, that is much more work that I would want to do edit-wise because I have to manually cut to you when you talk and ugh.
I mean, this is talking budget. So we pay about $15 for the Podbean hosting, which pretty much puts us on everything.
Yeah.
iTunes and all that jazz.
Yeah.
It's like $15 for Zoom, right?
Yeah, so $30.
It might be. Oh, is it $30?
Yeah. Oh no,
It's
no.
a
it'd be-
discussion.
Yeah, it's a discussion.
Oh, I
So
see.
we'll see. That will directly affect the videos on how they're done, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We have no website, so fuck that.
We're poor. We're just like those people in Pumpkinhead.
We're now taking sponsorships. The final
We live in the
gays
dirt.
would have open interviews applications for sponsorships.
I mean,
Finally, OnlyFans is a reality because we need it.
yes, we need that done. Toby, you can run your the therapy corner. That's good income. Beautiful. But until
Definitely
then,
qualified.
but until then, my name is Harrison.
My name's Richard.
And I'm Toby.
And we are the final gays.
Have I been voted off the island now? I cost too much money.
We'll see.
Well, that was a good time, Richard. I thank you for joining us for 2.5 episodes.
Good night, everybody.
So yeah, I was just talking about this Toby guy. He just loves these dinosaurs, and I was like, you know what, Toby? There's more to life than dinosaurs. Oh hey.
What? Excuse me?
Oh my god. Oh, I should have recorded that.
I'm sure you'll say there's more than just Godzilla 2, right? That's your true feeling?
I'm excited.
There's more to life than giant reptiles.
There's many more where that came from. I got this baby over here
My lord.
for my
that is
inspiration while I
awesome.
work.
Access mainframe. Access.
Most people have their boyfriends or their husbands at their desk. He's got a picture of a velociraptor.
Smoking a pipe.
Alrighty, so we're all still recording, right? No one stopped recording?
No.
I'm still recording.
Oh, we got it then. We have it in the
Oh,
audio.
shit.
What?
I was going to say, though, I forgot I was recording, and me and Brian were talking, and maybe some racy stuff were said that I didn't mean to be recorded, so hopefully it's not on the recording, but maybe it is. I don't know.
What did you say? Racist?
Or racy.
Racy.
Oh, racy.
Racist
I'm like,
stuff. Really, Harrison,
Jesus
I hope you cut out
just
all
like-
the racist stuff that I said.
Just a whole lot of sucking sound effects.
oh my god! It was just like that one time that
No,
apparently
we weren't that close to the mic.
Yeah, apparently it's was that there was that one time when he was doing something sexy that, like, I think it was just on audio, but yeah.
Well, I'll never hear it, but I'm sure Harrison will be like, I promise I won't listen. And then it'll go on the blooper reel.
You know, it's just Toby explaining all the things
I wouldn't be
he'll
that
do
upset, to
him.
be honest.
All the things Toby would do to him in his dinosaur costume. His dinosaur onesie.
Plenty.